good morning. Thank you so much, Michael, for coming on and chatting with me.
Elle, it's my pleasure. It's great to be here.
I'm really excited because this is something I think that is very important on my site. I try and encourage and educate couples. That way they can work together with their finances. But there comes a point with everyone's finances where they need a professional, and that would be you. How many years have you been working in the financial planning industry?
Uh, it's been over 30 years. Actually, I just passed 31 uh, yesterday.
Congrats.
Yeah, I think yesterday was the day. We're pretty much close to that, and it's kind of evolved from the very basic, working in financial services that involve selling products and insurance and investments and planning and commissions, and has now migrated to where we're a fee-only fiduciary, where we sell no products and we charge a fee for what we do, and it's a much more comfortable place to reside.
Oh, that is fantastic. And I think you hit something that a lot of readers have been asking me is there's so many people that claim to be a financial expert. And you mentioned this word, fiduciary. So I guess I kind of want to start off with that. What makes this so advantageous if someone comes to you, you being a fiduciary?
Well, let me just pull back half a step,
Yeah.
the idea that when people talk about financial advisors,
Hmm.
the sense that the word is so general that it encompasses everyone from someone who sells insurance to the stockbroker at Merrill or UBS or whatever, and right on through the fiduciary world, which is a different standard. Those of us in the fiduciary world, which means legally and morally, ethically, we have to act in our client's best interest, and we must disclose all conflicts of interest and how we get paid and all these other things. And if there are legal entanglements or if there's been complaints, all these things have to be upfront in our disclosure brochures. That's updated every year. So the fiduciary world really allows clients to work with an expert who or a planner who really has to work in their best interest without regard to their own interest.
Yeah.
So of course we're in business to make a profit, but again, if our advice has to be based on what is in our client's best interest. And that has to be our overwhelming, our guiding principle. And it's very comforting to know that, we can give advice without regard to it's going to impact our income one way or the other.
Yeah. And I think this is absolutely crucial, which is why I encourage, members of the community, please look for that when you're speaking with a financial advisor. And I've talked to some others, and I kind of want to hone in on this. Do
Sure.
you feel offended if someone asks you, are you a fiduciary? Is that like a dirty word, or are you fine with people being upfront and asking?
Oh no, I want people to ask. I want them to understand, information is always power. If you understand who you're working with, and that's not to say that if you work that an advisor who works on the product side is bad, or they're dishonest. I'm not inferring that in the least. They might be super well skilled. They might be really great at what they do, but their standard of care is different.
Mhm.
And as long as the consumer understands that the standard of care for a non-fiduciary is what's called suitability under FINRA rules. And suitability means that the investment that they're providing is suitable for them based on where they are, versus in their best interest. So there is a wide gap between
Yeah.
those two, and I think it's vital for clients, for consumers, to ask anyone they're working with, how do they get paid? Are there conflicts of interest? Have there been complaints against them? You want to know. It's really important. You're trying to build a relationship of trust. And in order to do that, you need to know, and you need to be comfortable enough to say, hey, this works for me, or this doesn't work for me, or I feel comfortable with this, or I don't feel comfortable with this. In our process,
Mm-hmm.
when we have our what we call our fit meeting with our clients, with prospective clients up front, we don't ask for any financial information. And because we believe that that's private. And until someone has the comfort to say, yes, I want to share my private information with you, we don't feel that we have the right to that. Whereas most financial people will say, if you want to have a meeting, bring me your tax returns and bring me your statements and bring me what's in your brokerage accounts. And people feel that they're being assessed based on their wealth.
Yeah.
And I think that's uncomfortable it would be uncomfortable for me. So I think it would be uncomfortable for most people to say, here, I'm opening up my entire financial picture to a stranger. And so I think you want to make sure that you're working with someone you feel comfortable with, and don't disclose anything that you don't feel comfortable disclosing. It's your business. It's your personal life, and be guarded as to who you share it with.
That's some good advice. And you mentioned something that I loved. You described standard of care, and it reminds me of like going to a physician and you're trying to find the right physician. And every doctor has specialties and skills. And even within the same specialty, they have different approaches. And I heard you are this expert on goal-based financial planning. So I kind of want to dig into this. How would you describe goal-based financial planning, and what's perhaps typically done, or what people associate with regular financial planning?
Right. Well, I'll kind of refine the statement a little bit, and rather than call it goals-based, we are considered financial life planners. So financial life planning really focuses in on someone's life, how they live their life, what they value most, what are the things that will allow them to put their heads on the pillow at night, what are the things that keep their heads off the pillow at night, what are those things that are like, oh my God, what's going to happen if, and what happens, and how do I send my kids to college, and I've got this bill coming in and my roof is leaking, and so there are all these things that people have, and I've got student loans, and so life planning really starts with, what is it we care about most? What are the things that what are our values? Not what possessions do we wish to acquire, or what car we drive, or what clothes we wear, but what are the things that give us that sense of, what allows us to feel good about where we are and where we're going. And maybe even where we are might not be the most comfortable place, but if we see the road ahead and we understand where we're going and how we're getting there, it's comforting. So financial life planning really gears towards that understanding of the client's values and beliefs around money, and versus the typical financial planner who will say, show me what you make, show me what you spend, what's your net worth, we're going to put it in this computer program and roll out a whole bunch of, this is where you are and this is where you're going. In financial life planning, what we look at is, where are you today and how satisfied are you with the various aspects of your life, not just financial life, but the rest of your life, your family life, your relationship with your community, your leisure time, your health, and your finances, and your work life and things like that. But also, where did you come from? What are your money beliefs? What's your money history? And your money history really informs us as to how you believe today, because we learn about money growing up. We learn our messages about money when we're young, and we watch our parents. We watch them fight about money, or we watch them talk about money as a reward or as a weapon, or really supportive messages like, don't spend money you don't have, or it's important to save for a rainy day. Those are really good supportive messages. But some people grow up where they hear their parents fighting about money, so money equals conflict. So we want to understand what someone's money history is, so that we understand what informs their thinking today. Are you a worrier or an avoider around money? And therefore, that awareness is really paramount. And then we look at the future. Where is it you're going? What are the things that you're preparing for? What happens if you lose a job? What happens if you're trying to prepare for college? What happens if you have parents that you're going to need to help out? So we want to look at the present, the past, and the future. And what we find with couples, especially, are couples who have varied money histories, and therefore their communication over money, they're not speaking the same language.
Yes.
And it's understandable. So what we want to do is bring them to a place where, hey, this is your normal, okay? And this is your normal. Neither one is wrong, but they're the experiences you had. So let's kind of understand it, embrace it, and understand it from each other's perspective. And I've had so many experiences where one spouse would look at the other after we go through some exercises, especially around their money history, and they're going, I never knew that. They might have been married for 10, 20, 30 years, and they didn't have any understanding, because it's typically not a conversation. Can you imagine, going on a date with your intended and saying, tell me about your first memories around money. What was that like? It's not exactly the conversation that most couples would have. Or, what did you learn about money growing up? What was the first thing you spent with your own, you bought with your own money, and what did it mean to you?
So do you feel like, in addition to being a financial advisor, you're almost like that neutral third party / marriage counselor / therapist?
Well, in a certain sense, I guess you could say that. I'm really fearful of the word therapist, because what we do is not therapy, but what we try and do is ask really good questions and listen to what's being said, and provide an atmosphere where people can share without judgment. One of the biggest blocks that people have, and couples especially, is there's this feeling of dread and blame and shame around money. And what we really want to do is say, hey, listen, perfect example. If my furnace breaks down, I am not grabbing a wrench, okay? I'm grabbing the phone and I'm calling the guy who knows what to do with the furnace. When it comes to, if you have some kind of an illness, I'm not going on WebMD and trying to, self-diagnose and self-treat myself. But when it comes to money, we have, as a society, this fear of saying, I don't know this. We feel like, and men especially are like, oh, of course I know this. It's like, no, you really don't, but that's okay. It's not your fault. It's that you don't know it, but it's okay that you don't know it. And what we really want to do is take that whole thing away of what you should know. It's like, you shouldn't know it unless this is what you do every day. Why would you know it? Why would I know how to fix my furnace unless it's what I do? And the biggest, now someone might argue, hey, you can look online and you can understand the diagrams and you can replace a part, and many people are really good at that. But at the same token, when it comes to, that is an objective situation. Like if your whatever part breaks, burns out, and you say, oh, I'm going to buy that same part and put it in. It's very objective. When it comes to money and your future and your planning and your goals, there's nothing objective about it. It's really very subjective. And so I can act as the objective third party, where trying to plan for yourself is a lot more difficult, because you have to know so much and be objective. We look at things through our subjective screens. I think it's very interesting that Richard Thaler just won the Nobel Prize for behavioral economics out of the University of Chicago. And his whole research is around how people make decisions that are completely, make no sense at all. They're irrational. But as human beings, we rationalize our decisions. So this way, we are, as planners, what we want to do is be that rational person, so that people can be irrational, but they have someone to say, oh, does that not work for us, or does not come together and help us achieve the goals that we care most about.
Yeah.
So it becomes more helpful.
Yeah. So let me ask you, I know you were talking about this, and it's great having a specialist that's very knowledgeable, because, like, for example, every state has their own pros and cons, financial vehicles you can use and so forth. Like with 529s, there's different rules.
Sure.
With a couple that sits down with you, do you mind maybe doing a little bit of educating and helping out? Because like, there's some doctors that are great at diagnosing,
Right.
but they don't have those conversations like, this is why, I feel like this is what it is. This
Sure.
is what you should be doing and why in your condition. How do you feel like explaining and sitting down? Is that something you personally enjoy doing? Do you feel like a couple's challenging you if they're asking, well, why do you think this is the best option?
Oh, yeah, that's such a great question. And one of the, it's so vital, and we spend a lot of time telling our clients, you must ask questions. And if we say something that you don't understand, your job is raise your hand, say time out. I don't understand what that means. Our job is to educate and therefore empower. Okay, the more questions that someone asks, the better, because no one should ever be a victim of someone's advice that they don't understand. Now, you don't have to be an expert. You don't have to have your MBA in finance or be a certified financial planner, but you need to have enough basic knowledge to see whether it makes sense based on what you're being presented and how it helps you achieve your goals. If it's confusing,
Mm-hmm.
we tell our clients, if you go home after this meeting and something else occurs to you, please call us back. Or if we explain something 6 times and it still doesn't come through, we'll explain it a 7th, 8th, 9th, or 10th time. There is no excuse not to. So we need to empower our clients to make good decisions. We would never want someone to make a decision based on not having enough information or not feeling good enough about what they're being told. And I will tell anyone, if you're not 100% confident and strong about what you've heard and understand, don't do it. Don't do
Gotcha.
anything until you feel that strength.
I understand, and I agree. I've gotten a lot of feedback, because sometimes they've met with financial advisors, and I'll put quotes because
Yeah,
they're not certified and they're not fiduciary. Um, and it almost like the advisor feels challenged. Why are you questioning me this way? And
run.
I feel like that's complete. Yeah, that's a red flag.
Yeah, that's a big red flag. That's a big red flag. Run in the
Yeah.
opposite direction. If you come across a financial advisor, in quotes,
Mm-hmm.
that it had that that says you're challenging them and gets defensive, run, because they're not there for you. They're there for them. Uh,
Gotcha.
it has to be a team,
Mm-hmm.
okay, and it has to be comfortable, and it has to be trustworthy, and it has to be consistent. A client always has to feel that they've got someone to talk to, and that someone, more importantly, is listening and understands where they're coming from. There's nothing more important than communication. We have in our conference room uh, bookshelves and we hold multiple copies of many books, and we ask our clients, go browse the shelves, pick out something that you might be interested in, take it home, underline it, write notes in the margins, come back and ask us about these questions that you
Yeah.
might have, or email us. On page 62, it said something about something. What does that mean? That's what we're here to do. The better educated someone is, the better decisions they're going to make, the better they're going to feel about what they're doing, and you're actually spreading that knowledge. Because just think about, our country is so bad at educating people around money. So the more we educate clients and they educate their children, and we're sending out this kind of ripple effect of knowledge and information that people need. And which is actually what inspired me to write the Feel Rich Project, was that whole idea of getting information out to people so that they can feel empowered to make good decisions for themselves.
That's fantastic. So I know there's couples that are listening and catching this conversation once this goes out, and they're thinking of getting a financial advisor, but they're at the point where they know what they kind of want to do, retire, hopefully earlier than 65, but they don't know how to get there. Should they hold off until they work out those issues themselves, or could a financial advisor still work with them?
Well, I think it's really important to work with a financial advisor who can help guide the conversation and keep it on track and start the conversation. So frequently we'll have younger couples who will say, we might want to retire, and I'm going to ask the question, okay, what does that look like? What does it mean once you retire? What does your life look like? What are you filling the basket with? Because and I don't care when you retire, whether you retire at age 50 or retire at age 60 or 70 or whatever that age is, but there needs to be purpose and meaning in your life. Otherwise, we die. We die internally and externally. So we want to make sure that we've built enough purpose into our life. People say, well, I want to travel. What does that mean? What does travel mean? You're going to take the Queen Mary around the world, or are you going to take, do a bus day trip to, various locations around where you live? They're both travel, but they have different price tags. I've heard people say, oh, I'm going to play golf. Well, you're not going to play golf 365 days a year. Okay. And number two, what happens if you, blow out your knee? What are you going to do then? Are you going to sit on the couch and watch Oprah? What are you going to do? What gives your life meaning and purpose? So, and what are the price tags that surround that? So if you want to sustain a lifestyle after work, you need to know what is included in that basket so you can build to that. Now, most couples, especially when they're younger, don't really know. They haven't thought about what's next. They know that they want to retire. They know that they want to stop working, but they don't quite know what that next step is. So we want to start building in, well, let's put a placeholder in there. What are some of the possibilities? Okay. What are some of the things that might have interest? We'll give assignments to people about just write down 5 possibilities of things that might be interesting to you. I have a great story if we have time to share. Yeah. Years ago, I had a client who came to me and he said he was a television director for a major network. And he came in one day and he was completely disgusted with his job. And he threw these papers on the table and he said, I can't take it anymore. I want to retire. I need to know if I have enough money to retire. And I took the papers and I pushed them over to the side, turned them face down. And he's looking at me like I'm insane. And I looked at him, I go, so what are you going to do when you retire? And he got this look, like the deer in the headlights look, like that. Like his face completely went into shock. And he goes, I have no idea. I said, well, then how can you retire unless you have an idea of where you're going? And we finished I said, you need time to really think about what your next step is. And we got up from the meeting, and he was one of these kind of gruff, kind of hard edge kind of guy. And I went to shake his hand, and he puts his arms around me and he gives me a hug. He says, thank you. He goes, this was the most important meeting I've ever had.
Wow.
And it was just like one of those moments of understanding. And he and his wife came in a week or two later, and he said, you know what? He goes, I'm setting my targets for retiring in a year, and my wife and I are here to talk about some of the possibilities. And we did. And he's actually been retired for about 15 years now.
Nice.
And he and his wife ice skate. He's still a downhill skier. They're involved politically. They've got book groups, and I mean, they have a very full, rich life. But if I had looked at the numbers and said, "Oh, sure, you have enough to retire," he would have walked out that day, and who knows? But so we need to have those conversations with clients. We need to have the conversation with each couple has a chance to share their thoughts without feeling judged and without feeling under pressure, because this is your life. If you don't take control and ownership of it, who's going to? But sometimes people need permission to do that.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, I'm hearing this, and it's fantastic because you are doing a life planning and approach, and you're looking at the big picture. I'm not going to mention names, but years ago,
Mhm.
got advised as a couple. We knew that we were doing better than normal, not like fantastic, but it was just basically living simply, index fund investing, that
Mhm.
stuff. So we wanted to know, like, do you have a plan that maybe we can start, figuring out? And that process, what's much quicker than yours, because this sounds like you're having conversations. And it was basically, we sat down, they wanted the numbers, emailed for some more numbers, and then they came back and it was a plan. And like immediately we felt like you just basically punched the numbers and you're giving us this generic plan, because it didn't even address the one thing we said. We're like, could we do something in our 40s to retire? What are the chances? It was even like, what are the chances with that? So as a difference, like if someone wants to know how it's done with you, could you give like a high level overview of the process from beginning? I see like the initial meeting is that conversation about what do you want.
Sure. Well, the initial meeting, which we call a fit meeting, is basically an opportunity for clients to ask us every question they can possibly think of, for us to take them through several life planning exercises where we ask them about we do an exercise called the Wheel of Life, which kind of gives a chance to rate their own levels of satisfaction in various areas, and then a financial satisfaction survey. And then what we do is this thing called a life transition survey. And we ask them to look at various areas of their work life, their family life, their legacy life, and see what things they see as potential transitions in their life. Changing jobs, getting married, sending kids to college, having parents, elderly parents, selling a house, buying a house, selling a business, starting a business, all these different questions. And this gives us an idea of what kind of things that they're looking at in their life that they're concerned about. So and then we do something called a family flow chart, where we want to understand who are the people in your life that are within your universe. Your parents, your children, your siblings. Are there people in your life that have special needs, or that you're considering that might need your help, or that you might need to help, or that or that might be helping you?
Yeah.
So, and we see this all the time. It might be a sibling, it might be a parent, it might be an uncle. So there's no way of, so we want to get this full picture. Who are these people? And maybe it's someone not even related, but someone who's a dear friend who you have a commitment to. So this is the information we gather. And meanwhile, we then run through our process. If a client we tell them the next step is, if you're interested in going to the next step, you let us know, and we'll ask for some selected financial information. Because we charge clients on a retainer basis, which means it's based on a formula of a percentage of income and net worth. We don't. We need to get an idea of what that is. We lock the fees in for 2 years, and we come back to them with a fee quote. Then we look at what the work is involved next to that fee quote, and if sometimes it works very well, and other times it doesn't. Other times the fee is too high for the work involved, in which case we have to bring the fee down. And other times the work is too high for the fee, and we need to bring the fee up.
Yeah.
So we tell people that in advance, and that's kind of how we work. If they agree to the fee, then we ask for a payment with the fee arrangement. And we gather the rest of the data. We look at everything from their health insurance and life insurance and homeowners and car, and their investments and their wills and their tax returns and their cash flow. And we're looking at their employee benefits, their 401ks, and what are the investment choices that they have there. Do they have any rollover IRAs, and what's that look like? We'll do a risk tolerance assessment with them. And then we'll have another meeting. And then the next meeting is to really start to go into their money history.
Okay.
And to find out more about what informs their thinking. And then we'll also start to talk about those scenarios that they might like to see. What would this first plan look like? What does it aim towards? And in some cases, we just want to take a snapshot. Where are you today? And what are the things that are working? And what are the things that might need some work based on what your concerns are? And what are some of the things that we spot that you might not be concerned about, but we are?
Yeah.
So we want to bring those to the forefront. And or they might have, hey, we're thinking of selling our home and buying another home, but we can only sell our house for this amount, but we want to buy a house for that amount, and can we handle it? And so we're going to say, okay, well, we'll include that scenario. Or what if I change jobs or move to a different area? What does that look like? So we'll then create a second scenario, and we'll present the plan with or comments on all the information that we've looked at. College planning or retirement or taxes or their estate plan or whatever else it is, we comment on each aspect of it. And hopefully, if we've listened properly, we've created a financial plan that hits their biggest interests first and then works down the list of priorities. And then we will help implement those plans where appropriate. So for example, if someone needs insurance, we don't sell product, but we will hook them up with someone if they don't have anyone, or we will look at whatever they have or whoever they're working with and assess that and ask questions. If they want us to take over the investing for them, we will do that. And since we're charging them a retainer, there are no other fees involved. So we will invest their assets based on our belief system and our philosophy, but there's no commissions involved or other costs that they're not aware of. So, and then we're going to get together. Some people we're going to get together with once a month, once a quarter, 3 times a year, whatever it is that's appropriate for the needs. Meanwhile, what we're asking clients to do is call us, email us.
Yeah.
You have a question, call, email, whatever it is vital. That if we have a meeting today and you have a question tomorrow, call us tomorrow. If you have a scheduled meeting for tomorrow and you have a question today, call today. Don't wait because you might forget.
Yeah.
So it is all about, because life happens.
Yeah.
Life's busy. You have a couple of kids and you have work and you have things that you're trying to handle. It's crazy. So if you have a question, get it out on the table.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, that's fantastic. Yeah.
That's the process.
I love how open and transparent, but more importantly, you come as someone who is very passionate and concerned for your clients, not only financial health, but overall well-being. So need more financial advisors like you, real advisors.
Yeah. And you know what? I am blessed to be part of the life planning community that exists around the country. You can go on websites like moneyquotient.org, and you can see the list of partners who have done the training. And there are other life planning companies that do training for different advisors. George Kinder has one, Susan Bradley for Sudden Money. So there are different schools of thought around life planning, but they all are aimed at client-centric philosophy of helping people and looking at it in a roundness. Clients might go onto the NAPFA website and look for fee-only advisors, or even if they go on FPA, Financial Planning Association, and make sure that who they're looking for are fee-only. To me, and that's not to say that there aren't advisors who charge otherwise who aren't quality, but at least you know that you've got the fiduciary standard when you're dealing fee only. And I think that's a comforting level for consumers. And I think the more consumers demand it, the more there will be. You'll see a shift out of the product side into the advocacy side of financial advice.
Oh, I agree. And I always want to encourage listeners and subscribers to reach out to advisors like you. So if any of them want to ask you a question, more information about your practice, pick up your book, what's the best way to reach you?
Okay, probably the best way to reach me would be they could check out our website, which is www.financial-life.com. lifefocus.com.
Mm-hmm.
And through that, they could read about our biography, our money stories. And everyone on our team has their own money stories, and I think it's really compelling. We're actually in the process of redoing our website, and I love it very much because I think we've really hit some important ideas and philosophies around it. And through that, they can find our email addresses. So rather than read you a whole bunch of email addresses, you can find it through the website. They can also subscribe to. I post a weekly article.
Mm-hmm.
I also publish on Forbes and on Psychology Today. In addition to the website blog, they can feel free to reach out and pick up a copy of the Feel Rich Project. They can get that at their bookstore or on Amazon or one of those sites, Barnes and Noble. And in which what I've tried to do there is to take what we do here and put it between the covers of a book, and at least to give people some kind of pre-work to do, some things to think about. I don't know that it can be as effective as working directly with a planner, but I think it's the next best thing.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I know you're really busy, but I do want to say I truly appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to talk with our community and to share all your expertise.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And I would say to you and to your community and your listeners and subscribers to ask good questions, be fearless. It's your life, it's your money, your feelings and the things that are hard for you or that are obstacles. Work together with your spouse. Talk to an advisor who can help you walk the journey, and don't feel bad, don't feel blame, don't feel shame. We're all in this together.